All right, guys, now's the time. This is the part 2 video that we've been waiting for with my guest, Mr. Michael Mathey. If you guys haven't checked out the first video we did with Michael, I'll throw the link in the description below to make it easy to get to. You're gonna wanna watch that one first because it'll give you a little background on how we ended up here today sharing what might be one of the most exciting real estate opportunities that exists right now. I don't really know, that's what I'm trying to figure out, but I do know that some of the most popular buzzwords are being thrown out there right now, right? No credit, no cash. Guys, what the hell is a pink house? That's what I've been asking myself all day long. I can't wait to get the answer on that. Now, we do know a little bit about his business from the standpoint of how he met his partner and how they got to where they are just 4 short years later in 40 different markets, just crushing this. They don't have any competition out there right now. And what that means for you is potentially big opportunity. Now, I'm here for you guys, okay? As you guys know, Michael and I are friends. That does not make an automatic business partnership out of our relationship. So I'm here to support you. I want to be a devil's advocate. I want to be a consumer advocate, and I want to start to sort of ask some of the same questions that I imagine these guys would have. I want to be the skeptic. So that's the angle we're going to take today on the video. But why don't we just start off with where you think, where would you tell somebody from ground zero, how would you get started explaining, what it is that you guys do? What is this opportunity exactly?
Yeah, so this is an opportunity to learn an investment strategy that is really different than everything else that's out there right now. Most investment strategies, you're dealing with distressed property, folks that are behind on their payments, they're underwater.
So wholesaling. Right?
Exactly.
Distressed for fix and flippers.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
Or you're looking for kind of that cash flowing opportunity like everyone else on the planet, and you're having a hard time finding any deals, right?
Yeah, so on average it takes about 120, 130 offers to get a wholesale deal.
Oh.
Everyone with a hammer and a screwdriver right now is the bona fide flipper, and we've got DIY and HGTV to thank for that.
Of course,
those reality shows make it look real easy.
I'm not going to lie, I like those shows, but it does look a little bit easy, depending on the show you're watching. Right? Those first-time flipper shows, they make it look pretty hard.
Yeah, and only half the house is painted. They don't show you that, right?
Oh yeah.
And as far as the long-term buy and holds, we've got some differentiating thoughts on that, whether it's right or wrong. But that's kind of a long-term wealth strategy. You're obviously making some cash flow every single month.
Get rich slow, man. It's very unsexy, but it's it's also appealing because people can see that as a tangible retirement, right? A residual income stream.
Yeah, and ours is kind of an instant gratification type scenario. They're getting front-loaded payments. They're getting paid prior to the buyer moving into the home, and they're making on average about $15,000 per deal. So, if you do 1 or 2 of those deals every single month, you follow a specific blueprint, which is what we really offer.
So you're showing exactly how to, step by step. And your average participants, what do you call these folks? Franchisees?
Yeah, franchisees, yes.
Okay.
Or affiliates is really the technical term. We're in the final stages of the franchising process.
But that's the similar role, right? As a franchisee. Once you finally lock down the franchising legality, that's what these folks will be.
Absolutely.
So right now they're affiliates. So an affiliate on average is coming in somewhere between 1 to 2 deals per month.
Depending on time. Now, if you're full-time or you're spending 40, 50 hours a week doing this, you can obviously expect more than that. You're going to get out of it what you put into it. Okay. A lot of people have full-time jobs or they're doing other investment strategies. This is kind of a part-time thing for them. We always ask people that come to us, what does success in this business look like for you? Okay. For some people, an extra 6 figures a year is life-changing for them.
For most people, especially if they couple it with a lot of the strategies we're teaching on the videos, as far as how that can be used towards debts or how that can be used to just even fuel this business more or stimulate another business opportunity, another income stream somewhere. So even just an extra $1,000 to $3,000 per month can be pretty life-altering.
Yeah, our minimum fee per transaction is $10,000, and theirs will be too. Okay. So even one deal.
So that's how you get paid. You make 10 grand on a deal, and then they make a minimum of 10 grand. So there's at least $20,000 worth of meat on the bone.
On average, there's $15,000 in the pot. We do participate in the profits, but our affiliates get the lion's share.
Okay, I see. So you're helping them make a deal where they're making a minimum of $10,000, right?
That's correct.
And so if they're committing somewhere in the neighborhood of part-time hours, let's call it 20 hours a week, it's not unrealistic that an extra $10,000 to $20,000 a month is doable.
Very realistic. We always like to set realistic expectations for the people that we're working with. We match their effort 100%. We can't put a gun to someone's head and make them get out of bed and work.
So it's just like our coaching too, guys. I mean, obviously, we're only as successful as you allow us to be. So if you're not showing up, if you're not following homework, it's not going to work. Same with you.
That's exactly right. In order to do volume, and we've got a very scalable business, and we've proven that in markets across the country, if it's a full-time effort, obviously the sky's the limit. We've got some that have brought in teams that are looking to do the volume, but we've got the one-man show, or the husband and wife team that doing a deal or two a month is exactly what they're looking for. That creates their nest egg. That allows them to transition from a full-time job into doing this full-time. So we've got a blueprint to follow, but we always ask them, what does success look like for you? How much time can you dedicate to it? How many deals would you need to do a month in order to kind of achieve your financial goals? And we work backwards from there.
Speaking of working backwards, let's take a few steps back into some of the kind of the buzzwords here, right? So we're talking about no credit, no cash. What does that really mean here, right? So how similar to lease option to own type of deals are these? Because I have to admit, I'm not a fan of lease option to own, so I definitely want to compare and contrast those two things, because if it's similar, I'm probably not a subscriber to it.
Absolutely. And option in our world is bad. It's a bad word. So options are typically dealing with lower end homes.
Okay, right.
We deal in executive level homes, and it's based on every market. So Jacksonville, really our sweet spot's $200,000 to $500,000. We do a market analysis in every market we get involved in. Obviously, there's higher price points on the West Coast than there are in Florida, for example. So we do a market analysis. We identify the average home value. We go a little above that and a little below that. So a lease option is a test drive. The buyer is putting down some sort of nominal option deposit.
5-10K.
Yeah, max.
Right, maybe a couple
max.
thousand, right?
I mean, typically $5,000 or less. The likelihood of them becoming homeowners, they don't have a blueprint to follow. It's really throwing spaghetti against the wall.
I mean, come on. I've been in the business for so long, right? So we've been doing lending for years and years to start off my career. I was in the credit world for years. Lease option to own was, it was a big industry for a while, and I never saw people converting.
Yeah.
I just saw these poor buyers coming in with all these hopes and dreams sold to them, and the seller ends up with a little bank account with this deposit that they almost inevitably got, and then they just turn around, put the property back on the market, and repeat the process. And it always felt really uncomfortable to me, because I just never really, as people, they would come to me wanting help with credit, and they just, because of bad habits, never ended up getting their credit into a strong position. So if I may, it seems like the biggest difference here is you're dealing with a different demographic. You're dealing with people who are financially responsible, right?
You're exactly
That's the
right.
executive level difference here.
So the two differences are the seller, first and foremost. These are people that are actively trying to sell their home. So FSBOs, for sale by owners, expired listings are typically our demographic of sellers that we're approaching.
So that's how you're finding your inventory.
That's exactly
as you're
right.
approaching these lists of FSBOs.
Yeah.
Okay.
These are not off-market homes. So these are people that are saying, I actively want to sell my home. They're also raising their hand saying, I don't want to list with an agent, which means they're trying to maximize the return on the sale of their probably biggest asset.
Which is the appeal here, is they're just trying to avoid that expense. It's not that they're not desperate.
Not at all.
And the houses don't usually need a lot of work, right?
Very little, if any.
Okay, so they're looking for a real, actual qualified buyer.
That's exactly right. This is an exit strategy for them. Then we're dealing with buyers, well-heeled buyers, like you said. The biggest difference between this and an option buyer is these buyers have a lot of skin in the game. We're dealing with $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 plus houses. Our buyers are required to put 5 to 10% down of the sale price of the home. It's fully non-refundable. That's how we make our money. That's how you'll make your money. That's how in most cases we're giving the seller some money up front, which gives them that peace of mind knowing someone's living in the home before they get all of their equity out. Keep in mind also the seller's not transferring title until they've been paid in full, which is a very important component. We mandate a mortgage readiness program for every buyer. We want them to succeed. That's the biggest difference between this and a lease option. 20-30% of those succeed. Our success rate is over 90%. Our slogan, or our mantra, if you will, for Little Pink Houses is we create homeowners. We hold their hand. They've got a blueprint to follow, but nothing minimizes risk like cash. These buyers are deep. They can afford a mortgage. They just can't go to the bank. Self-employed. Too many tax write-offs.
Sound familiar, guys?
It could be credit. We can fix credit very easily, though. Not always credit in our world. It's kind of a popular misconception on why people can't go to the bank. Divorce, prior bankruptcy, foreclosure. These are good people that can afford a mortgage, but 70% of the people can't walk into the bank right now and get an institutional loan. So that's why we exist. That's the void that we fill.
Very, very interesting. And then basically, somebody on the other end of their computer right now that's getting curious about this, and they're saying, hey, I don't want to use my credit, and I don't want to use my cash, and I want to be in real estate, but I'm scared of the market turning, and I don't want to be mid-flip when the downturn hits and end up halfway done with a project and a property that's 50K underwater. That to me sounds pretty damn scary. Buy and hold, we talked a little bit about this, and Michael was talking about feeling as though the buy and hold market had basically unraveled back in 2000. I hold firm that I think that the buy and hold market is still extremely appealing, and I know so many of you guys that approach us are ready for that. You want that now. One thing I'm sure we agree on is it's a tough buyer's market today. Okay, so whether it was good to be a buy and hold investor 7 years ago versus 18 years ago, we may not agree on that, but one thing I do know is it's not easy today. It doesn't mean it won't be a great time to buy again when the correction eventually comes, right? Mm-hmm. That might be another time to pick up properties in order to continue to gain that residual income. But another area that we probably do agree is even if you were successful in some of what people consider best case scenarios with real estate investing right now, you're still only going to end up walking away with hundreds, not thousands per month in leftover net cash flow. So whether you're looking to get $5,000 or $10,000 in new income from real estate, that means you got to have quite a few properties. You need at least 10 to hit 5,000, and you need at least 20 to hit 10,000. 20 properties for the average person, Mr. and Mrs. homeowner, Mr. and Mrs. W-2'd wage earner. That's a pretty big responsibility. And at that point, yes, maybe you can replace the income that you were earning during your day-to-day activities, but again, I just think people are looking at real estate in the long-term buy and hold world as a possible solution. And I disagree with that completely. I don't think it's a real solution for short-term goals. I think it's only a solution for really that kind of long-term legacy style wealth development. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree with that. And when we talked kind of off camera here, I don't necessarily disagree with the concept of buy and hold, but like you just said right there, it's more of that long-term wealth strategy. I like instant gratification. I like putting checks in the bank today based on the efforts that I put forth last week or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, and I like putting in big checks.
And that does not happen right now, right? I mean, I would say if you're doing that in real estate right now, you're taking some pretty big gambles because it means you are still successfully flipping. And the people I saw with the biggest kind of 180-degree loss of wealth in the last downturn, most of them were caught mid-flip.
Absolutely. None of us have a crystal ball. There's some people that I really subscribe to. Harry Dent being one of them. I'm sure you're familiar with him. He predicted the '89 collapse in Japan, the 2000 .com. He predicted the last housing bust. He's predicting this one before 2020. So it could happen tomorrow. None of us know.
And that's true. And actually, it's funny that you mentioned that timeline because there's a real estate investor here in the Colorado market that I really respect. His name's Anthony Chara. Check him out. He does apartment building education. Really very, very talented, very ethical guy. And I know he had gone to an economic summit last year that was, or it could have been earlier this year, that was talking about sort of what that collapse timeline looked like. And these were national economists that, came and sat on the panel to talk, and they gave the exact same timeline. Quarter four of 19 being sort of that probable window. But again, who knows? Maybe this thing drags on for another 3, 4, 5 years. We don't know. It might be 5 months from now. My recommendation and obviously goal for this channel is to continue to help you guys position yourselves to be as strong as possible in any market. And what I'm really gravitating toward here in this conversation is the fact that your idea is probably actually even improved as the market gets worse, isn't it? Because there's a lot more inventory for you guys?
That's absolutely correct. So in good markets, we thrive, and bad markets, we really excel. I mean, it is We never hope for that to happen for obvious reasons. People lose their homes, really bad things happen to good folks. So it's never something that we're sitting around crossing our fingers and hoping to happen. However, we are perched and ready for that to happen. So and it's not an if, it's a when. The market is going to correct itself. Happens on average about every 10 years. We all know when the last one was, so it is forthcoming. This is an investment strategy that allows people to learn something to differentiate themselves from everyone else that's out there and be perched and primed to be ready when that happens, that can't go out there and lay down cash to buy up the properties when it's at the bottom of the market, or they don't want to go out there and borrow private or hard or institutional money. It doesn't make sense for them. So this is a way for them to capitalize on the market correction without having to risk cash. So we think we've got something great, and like you just said right there, in good markets we do very well, and bad markets we really do phenomenally.
So basically, the person that's listening now is you're helping them identify where these sellers are, right? And then they're approaching sellers and they're basically negotiating this contract, similar to a lease agreement, right? Lease to purchase agreement, but ultimately, the intention for them is to then turn around and find the end buyer, right? And that end buyer is coming in, and you guys are making your margins very similarly to how a wholesaler would, as far as sort of kind of wholesaling a contract. So it's almost a hybrid of the various real estate, the traditional real estate industry, isn't it?
Yeah, so a hybrid's probably a fair word for it. So there's definitely some similarities. So lease purchases, to some extent, they've been around forever. We didn't invent them.
Of course.
What we've done is really shined it up, refined it, systematized it. So
found a specific sales price, right? I think that's your key, right? Isn't that the secret niche right there?
No one goes after that higher price point.
And there's more people than ever that want those homes.
Absolutely.
And there will be more people than ever that want those homes in the next correction too.
That's exactly right.
I do understand and respect and actually even sort of like that tiny home market too. I see the appeal on kind of both sides, but that $500,000, $600,000, $800,000, $1 million plus real estate market is incredibly appealing. All you have to do is spend a few weekends checking out Zillow in that price range and actually drive around and look at those properties to leave very tempted to be one of those homeowners, right? So it's an incredible, I think the draw to the life of luxury will probably always be there.
Yeah, and for investors that work with us also, it's a different state of mind. You're not going into war zones to pick up, distressed properties. You're not having to, quote unquote, play the buyer in a wholesale deal, which always just never felt right for me. I'm going to buy your home. Okay, I've got 45 days to close. Now I'm going to go out and try and find the actual end user buyer who's going to be a rehabber in most cases. We're going in with full transparency to these sellers. They know our business model. They know the benefits for them. They're simply economic benefits. They know that we're going to go into an agreement with them. You can do this without being a licensed agent or a broker. We've got contracts specific to all 50 states that allow you to get equitable interest in the title of the home.
Interesting. So they don't need any other licensing?
No licensing at all.
Wow. So there's really no barriers of entry that I'm hearing so far.
For an investor to get involved with us in that capacity?
Right.
Absolutely not.
Very interesting. So what would be the best next step for somebody that's listening and saying, I want more information? Is this a conversation with you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be next step. So
here's what we're going to do then, guys. In the description below, I'm going to throw an email in. I'm going to immediately CC Michael and his team on that email. It'll be pink@vipfinancialeducation.com. That's pink@vipfinancialeducation.com. Go ahead and put VIP conversation in the subject line. In the body of the email, make sure you include your first and last names along with direct contact information. And just like we do with Nick and his team and many others that are here on the channel that we've identified as being really great resources and potentially even wealth creation solutions for you, we'll give you a warm introduction. And of course, I ask for you guys in exchange for that to just be really transparent with us, provide us your feedback. This is something that seems like it's going to be right up the alley of a few of you, okay? And I'm excited to see what you guys do with this. But again, all you can do is ask more questions, right? Come in, share all about yourself, talk about your long and your short-term objectives, talk about your time availability, decide that you're actually a committed person before you even waste his time. Because if you get all the answers you want and you're not ready to do something, then what are you doing? Somebody a long time ago taught me that there will never be success in dabbling. And that has been my experience. You cannot kind of tinker around this and expect that you're going to fall into wealth by accident. It really does have to be treated like a business, like anything else. So even if it's 10 hours a week, that's okay. You can commit 110% of yourself for 10 hours a week and still get a business off the ground. 20 hours a week is better than that. 40 is better than that. 80 is better than that. The more you put in, the more you're going to get out, as Michael has already told you. So as always, I always appreciate you guys coming and checking us out. Appreciate you being here too, my friend.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you. Guys, go ahead and hit that email. Make sure you're a subscriber. We also offer one free coaching session as well. We'll put the link in the description for that. Make sure you have at least $500 per month in leftover cash flow. If you're looking for ways of getting $500 per month in leftover cash flow, here's your man. Okay, we'll see you on the next video, guys. Until then, make it a great day. Take care.